You also have to do that because Zillow says you're not going to make any money on your house for at least 13 years in Minneapolis.
When is everybody going to finally tell Zillow to go to hell?
What I tell you, Nick, I thought I would get them. I think this is really interesting. I actually had a buddy of mine and a lender that we use, that Andy Hubble. Remember Andy? He was on our WCCO. Really intelligent person, really kind of dives into things.
Yeah.
Well, it was interesting. So he put this video together, and he uses this video to kind of show buyers different options and owning versus renting. And he can kind of do it on a Zoom, record it, go through this whole thing and do it. But he actually did a video for us.
Okay, this is very quickly, I'm going to show. It would take 13, in some instances, close to 14 years in order to break even on buying a home, which is flat out ridiculous. So Minneapolis, Minnesota was one of the markets that they showed. Cash flow difference over that time period, you're going to come out ahead $30,000. Appreciation gain, amortization gain. When you're talking about a time frame of 13 years, you're talking about almost half of your 30-year amortization. So we all know that the interest on an amortized loan is heavily front-loaded, but there is a pretty good portion there, almost $74,000, $73,414 in amortization gain over that time period.
It basically says that, hey, I mean, you could go rent, and he goes through that and shows kind of the whole rental thing, and it's absolutely ludicrous what they've kind of come up with, and in throwing that out there, and he's exactly right. It's clickbait. Hey, it doesn't matter. We'll get past it later. And, but now we have to deal with all of these questions, from people, because people do look at Zillow and they're like, oh my God, you're going to make any money. And it's just like, it's ridiculous. And that's why this thing really kind of plays it out and shows you every dollar that you can do. And he actually goes into it deeper and makes everything worse than what Zillow's even saying.
And so they're doing clickbait crap like this now just to get more eyeballs on their site again. It is literally a spider trap and a spider web, and it's designed to get you to click and stick somewhere on that web, and then they want to sell it, that information. It's all about data now. Data. We have so many thousand visitors a minute. We have so many thousand visitors per hour. And then we generate so many leads. And then people subscribe into that. Like, well, look they're the big powerhouse. They have the eyeballs. People are watching them. But here's what's interesting. You start putting out a bunch of clickbait articles like that. The people that actually do read them eventually are going to get to the point of where, boy, this is just another Esquire magazine of real estate, right? There's stuff on there that's kind of interesting, but there's a lot of crap on here that because people want to pay to play, they put on there that sells their whatever widget they're trying to sell. So, housing is kind of a little bit different. I think that just like the state of Minnesota doesn't tax clothing, for an example. Clothing is essential. Housing is essential. I think some of these arenas that we're in where people are making huge financial decisions, I'm not saying I want them policed. I really don't. I just think that there should be a root, kind of like the realtors have the code of ethics. Same should anybody that claims to be a real estate-based website. Just like when you run an ad on social media, if it's real estate-based, they follow all the anti-discriminatory classes and you have to run ads to everybody. You can't just run them to certain people anymore. And it's getting to the point of where it's like, okay, so for real estate, I think they should also, if they're regulating on Facebook and Instagram and everything else, why can't they have some version of a code of ethics that they have to follow too that says, hey, listen, we're not going to put clickbait on our website. We're going to disclose to you that we're actually selling your name to real estate agents. They should say that by clicking this, you understand your name is being sold to somebody, and that there's going to be people that are going to be calling you like a predator because they spent a lot of money to get this lead. I just don't understand why all that doesn't have to be disclosed. Where something like this, it shows you an example. To me, why do more people not want to follow something like this?
That's why we're here, Andy. We're trying to help people understand this. And I just thought this was the best example of it.
Populate, and these are comparable rents in Hennepin County if you want to rent a $422,000 equivalent home. So assuming that this is the house you want to buy and you decide not to buy, let's compare it to renting a house that's similar. That's what this tool does, and it does it automatically. I could change the price to whatever, $300,000. And you're going to see that the rent goes down. But again, we're using 422 because that's just to do an apples to apples comparison to the article that is referenced. So $29.75 is the comparable rent in Hennepin County, $45 for renter's insurance, and then the annual rental increase for renewable rents. There's a couple different ways you can do it. Average in Hennepin County is actually 5.313%, which you can see is in there. The national average is 4.5. We'll get back to that in a minute. Now, go down to the price.